So what I want to talk about here is something really big, and this is going to be the first of many videos that will be part of a What's Really Coming series. I'll be talking about this over a series of videos, and what I'm going to try to explain, as far as I know, has never been talked about. When I first came across this theory, I went searching the internet to see if there were any other Christian leaders who had thought the same thing. And to be clear, what I'm proposing here would only come from a Christian perspective. You would have to be a Christian to even entertain this notion. So again, as far as I know, I'm the only one who has theorized what I'm going to be talking about. So this is going to be new ground, and it's going to be maybe difficult to explain or understand. And I'm really out on a limb here, but I am convinced that this is what's really coming. This is what's really going on. The Bible talks about a great deception in the last days. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verses 11 and 12 says this, quote, "For this reason God sends them a powerful delusion so that they believe the lie, and so that all will be condemned who have not believed the truth but have delighted in wickedness." Now this is interesting, this idea that God, not Satan, is the one who actually causes this delusion over the world in the last days. But it's only because the world has, up to that point, delighted in wickedness. So it's part of the punishment that God makes you believe the lie. Satan and his angels are no doubt orchestrators of a master plan that will ultimately manifest in the last days. But if you truly delight in righteousness, you are not going to be susceptible to believing the lie. You don't have to fall for it if your heart truly delights in the Lord. And Jesus himself, speaking to the great deceptions of the last days before his return, he says in Matthew 24:24, quote, "For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if it were possible, even the elect." And I'll be talking about some of the false prophets and who they are over this series of videos. So the question is, what is this great deception that's coming? Many Christian authors, speakers, and pastors have offered up numerous possibilities, some more credible and believable than others. Some of them I think are very legitimate. L.A. Marzulli, who I greatly respect, thinks that the great deception specifically may refer to fallen angels and demons setting up a fake ET arrival that will help usher in a global society and all that. And I think that's a very real possibility, but I think that the arrival of fake ETs and many of the other possibilities of what this great deception the Bible talks about actually refers to is actually only going to be a part of a bigger and grander deception. And I think if ETs or whatever, demons, fallen angels masquerading as ETs, if they do come, it's only going to come after a very deceptive trick, and that trick is what I'm going to be talking about. And it's this deception, I think, that the Bible refers to is actually much more fundamental than a specific thing like ETs coming. Ultimately, what I think the great deception, the one big grand deception that the world falls for in the last days, is simply the New Age belief that we're all God. Now, that's not the new theory I'm offering up. There are a lot of people who talked about this, and the New Age lie has literally been around since the beginning of time. You shall be as gods, right? As Satan said to Eve in the garden. But how this is actually going to take place, how this is actually going to be achieved, not just in America, not just in the churches, but throughout the entire world, that is what I'm going to be offering up as a very real possibility, and what I think is actually going to happen. So you have to think about this. How do you get the entire world to buy into the satanic lie that we're all God and all part of this universal cosmic brotherhood? Now, the actual teachings themselves, coming from Blavatsky and Alice Bailey, have indeed been very successful in helping to further this end. And right now you have the United Nations working with several New Age groups that are helping to educate the world in these occult principles. So there are millions of people all over the world who have already accepted these teachings, and many of these teachings have seeped into the churches even. Churches now are accepting channeled messages about Jesus, which are, obviously coming from a fallen angel. So this New Age thing is already very widespread. And Oprah is obviously a big influence, but there's a lot of the world left over that rejects this stuff for whatever reason, whether they're still Christians, whether they're Muslims. And there's still a lot of very secular people around the world who don't ever really consider the possibility that there's even a God or, any kind of supernatural realm. So much of the world, probably even most of it still, has yet to be initiated into this New Age lie. So how do you pull it off? How do you get the entire world to to buy into this stuff. Well, that is what I'm going to be offering up as something new, something I've not seen anyone else discuss. If you've ever seen the movie Batman Begins, there's this quote that has always stuck with me. It's where Bruce Wayne says, "People need dramatic examples to shake them out of apathy." And I think Satan's going to be using that strategy. Much of the world is still in a state of apathy. And I see a very, very dramatic example, a very dramatic display that is coming soon that will shake the world out of its apathy and get them to buy into the New Age lie. And why I don't think that trick is going to be, for example, ETs. I think ETs are something that's going to be coming afterward to help reinforce the or solidify or consolidate the work that this trick is going to be pulling off. Is because if ET showed up tomorrow, I think, if they showed up too soon, there'd be first of all, there'd be a lot of Christians saying, "Oh no, they're demons" or whatever, and I think there might even be a very hostile response. So you have to prepare the world for their arrival. You have to get the world in the right mindset to be able to accept it. So before we go any further, I want to address the subtitle, The Counterfeit New World Order and the Real Great Deception. Now, what do I mean by the counterfeit New World Order? Do I think the New World Order is not real? No, that's not what I mean at all. I think the New World Order is absolutely real. I just think that the New World Order is actually going to be something quite different from what it's usually portrayed as being, which brings me to what my theory is. And that is that there's going to be, I believe, a fake or counterfeit New World Order that will begin to emerge very soon, and then ultimately defeated, purposefully defeated, which will then usher in the real New World Order, or the New Age Global Brotherhood of Man. And the conspiracy theorists, ironically, are either in on this or they are playing into this strategy, because it is the conspiracy theorists themselves who are projecting this counterfeit New World Order out to their audiences. And in correlation with this fake New World Order is also this fake or counterfeit Illuminati. I don't believe that the quote-unquote Illuminati was founded in 1776. The Illuminati has been around since the beginning. That is the idea of a secret order, a brotherhood of people who think that they're enlightened. They've been illuminated by the sun god, Lucifer, whatever. They've been initiated into these secret teachings. That's been around since the beginning. Okay, so the Illuminati was not founded in 1776. Anybody who tells you that is a deceiver. And that's actually part of the deception, believing that the Illuminati, the people that want to take over the world, that didn't start until 1776. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And I'll be going into that, all of that throughout this video series. I'll be explaining what the counterfeit New World Order is, what the counterfeit Illuminati is, and how that's going to be used as a trick to help usher in the real New World Order and a worldwide spread of Illuminist Luciferian teachings. I don't know how many videos this is going to take, but trust me, this is a lot of stuff, and it took me a long time to come to this conclusion. And my conclusion that I've arrived at initially started with the first realization that the whole conspiracy theory realm, the conspiracy theory media, is inundated with New Agers or New Age sympathizers. And ever since then, I've only found more and more evidence that reinforces my original suspicion that the entire conspiracy theory program is fundamentally a New Age phenomenon. It is run primarily by New Agers. A lot of these conspiracy theory radio talk show hosts, a lot of their shows, they entertain New Age ideas. They talk about astrology. They talk about, they'll talk about Bible prophecy, but just as a possibility. They don't treat the Bible as the Word of God or some kind of authority. They've even had people on their programs that condemn the Bible and think that it needs to change or whatever, that it's outdated. So it's primarily run by a New Age worldview. The one big exception to this that I can think of would be Bill Cooper, and he's dead, and which I think is very suggestive. I think he was just too Christian for the conspiracy theorists. And again, I'll talk more about this in detail later on, but I think the timing of his death is very telling, and his death actually fits into what I'm postulating here, because If the conspiracy theorists are part of the New Age plan to usher in the real New World Order, Christian perspectives on conspiracy theories need to be eradicated. Now, there are still plenty of Christian authors and speakers out there who do address conspiracy theories and dabble in the conspiracy media genre. People like L.A. Marzulli, Stephen Quayle, Chris Putnam, Tom Horn, and others. But their main angle is Bible prophecy, which does often, run up against conspiracy theories. But again, that's not their main angle. They're not first and foremost conspiracy theorists. Bill Cooper was, however, known as a conspiracy theorist. And then he worked in Bible prophecy into his theories. In fact, many consider him the granddaddy of conspiracy theorists. He allegedly predicted 9/11 before it happened, and I think there's a lot of evidence that supports that. And Bill Cooper, while I don't agree with everything he had to say, was very clearly a solid Christian and incorporated a lot of Bible prophecy into his program. And he had a whole Mystery Babylon series, which was great, and where he talked about the religion of the mystery schools of Freemasons and all that. The occult religion of the people who seek to rule the world. And the Bible in Revelation very explicitly says the religion of the Antichrist is Mystery Babylon. It says that in Revelation. So the point is that he had too biblical of a perspective to be allowed to continue as a conspiracy theorist. People like Bill Cooper cannot be around if Satan is going to pull off what I think he's trying to pull off. And it perfectly explains why guys like Bill Cooper are dead, and other guys, other conspiracy theorists, and I'll talk about them more later, I'm not going to name names now, why these other conspiracy theorists are not just alive and well and prospering, but are actually growing in popularity. And that's because they fit into the program. They fit into the plan. It's bothered me for some time, the fact that these conspiracy theorists are allowed not just airtime, but allowed to keep growing and spreading. If what they said was true, then how in the world are they still alive? But I've finally made sense of that. I know why they're alive now, because they're part of the plan. So I'll finish up this first video here and leave you with a few final thoughts. If what I'm proposing is true, if what I think Satan is really up to is true, this is going to be a masterfully deceptive trick. A fake, phony New World Order is going to rise and then going to be purposefully allowed to be defeated so that the real New World Order can finally be implemented. A good way to think about this is, think about an evil person who wants to trick you into trusting them. How would they do that? Well, they certainly couldn't just walk up to you and demand your trust. That would instantly make you suspicious of them. And they certainly couldn't show their true colors or reveal their real intentions. They would have to trick you into giving them your trust all on your own. They could not make it look like they were making you trust them or forcing you to trust them, because then that's not real trust. And a perfect way to pull this off would be to stage an attack on you. Send someone after you, have them attack you, and then they come in and rescue you from the attacker. That evil person has now gotten you to trust them by making themselves look like a hero to you, by saving you. Another analogy would be, if you can imagine a supervillain who wants to get the public to trust him and make himself look like a hero by, he goes and destroys a train track, in secrecy without anyone knowing it was him. And then just before the train reaches the destroyed track, the people on the train think, they're going to wreck or whatever. He comes in and saves the people on the train. Well, as a result, they would all think that he's the hero, when in reality, he came in and rescued the people from a disaster that he caused, right? So this is what this is all about, I think. I think there's going to be a staged enemy, a staged threat that Satan will make himself look like he's rescued us from. And that's what all these conspiracy theorists are a part of. And the final thought I'll leave you with is this. I've discovered that conspiracy theory as a whole mentality, the idea of conspiracy theory, the whole idea that there are dark, evil shadow groups around the world that seek to enslave us, is actually a fundamental part of the New Age. It's not a Christian idea. It fits in a lot with with Christianity. The idea that, our true enemy is, dark spiritual forces. But for a true Christian, that's not what drives us every day. The being fearful of the dark shadow groups. It's actually a very New Age mentality. It actually comes from the New Age, and it's actually rooted in an ancient branch of the mystery schools called Gnosticism, which we'll talk about later on. But I'll leave you with this picture that proves my point that conspiracy theory is at the heart of the New Age. This is a picture I found, and it's It's the classic picture, the New Age picture of a person in a meditative position with their 7 chakras highlighted. This is the quintessential picture of the New Age, and a New Ager made this picture. They added the text around the chakras, and you can see the typical "I am God, we are all one, I am the creator," the typical New Age satanic stuff. But look at the bottom here. The conspiracy wants to enslave me, and he misspelled enslave, but the conspiracy wants to enslave me. This proves my point, and it proves the suspicion that I had had long before discovering this picture, and that it's the New Age is very interested in conspiracy theories, and they're very interested in uncovering the dark shadow groups around the world. Remember, the New Age is all about light and love. Okay, so they want to take charge in revealing these shadow groups. And why is that? Well, I'll be divulging that throughout this series of videos, but I want you to begin to take in this information little by little, because then it'll make more sense to you when you look at the more specific evidence. You'll be able to put this stuff together yourself. We'll pick up here with this picture in the next video, and I hope you tune into these, and it's a big, big plan that I think Satan has been working to pull off. What I want to keep doing here first is establishing this connection between the New Age and conspiracy theory, so that you have a good foundation for understanding all the details and how this all connects. Picking up where we left off with this picture, the idea that conspiracy theory is popular in the New Age, and in fact is at its very core. It's at the core of many of the New Age's teachings, and during my research into the New Age over the past couple years now, I began to notice a startling trend, something I was not really prepared to or expecting to find. I started to realize that most of the big hitters in the conspiracy theory realm are New Agers or embracing of New Age ideas, and vice versa, that many openly New Age people and leaders are very into or interested in expressing conspiracy theories and are into exposing the dark shadow groups, the truth about 9/11, the medical and drug company conspiracies, etc. Here's an illustration to show you how my understanding of this has changed, how I used to think of the New Age and conspiracy theory versus how I think of them now, which is how they really are. I used to think of the New Age movement and conspiracy theory as two completely separate things, two things that really had nothing to do with one another. Then over time, the more and more I had come to study the New Age and be familiar with conspiracy theory, I've seen more and more how much common ground there is between the two, and the two are actually merging to a point where I think very soon they're going to be completely aligned phenomena, because the two actually complement each other almost like a husband and a wife. They are becoming increasingly united in this common bond where one helps or assists the other. They complement each other. They sort of feed off each other in what the other may be lacking. In fact, I would go as far to say that conspiracy theory and the New Age are not two things that work together, but maybe it's better to think of conspiracy theory as being part of the broader New Age phenomenon. And there are some very deep reasons for this, which I'll be going into soon. But first, I just want to keep establishing this connection between the New Age and conspiracy theory, or what is also called the truth movement. And then we'll go into the deeper reasons for this kinship or partnership between the two. I've done a bit more research over the past couple days, and I've found a few other people who have picked up on this partnership between conspiracy theory and the New Age. Not very many people, though, seem to have picked up on this. It doesn't seem to be a very widely recognized trend, and in fact, those few times I have found someone else who has recognized this connection between conspiracy theory and the New Age, they really haven't gone much further than pointing it out, and they just seem to point it out and move on. They don't seem to recognize the implications of it, and they don't go into the deeper reasons for it. They don't seem to carry it out, in other words, to its logical conclusion, which is what I'm going to be trying to do in these videos. So one author, Nicholas Goodrick Clark, he writes in his book, Black Sun, Aryan Cults, Esoteric Nazism, and the Politics of Identity, he notes how the New Age and conspiracy theories seem to go hand in hand in German Nazi circles, and Nazism has a lot of common ground with the New Age. A few other people have pointed this out, although a lot of people don't realize it or don't want to accept it. And we'll go into the connection between the New Age and Nazism later on. But he says, quote, "The Nazi UFO books of Jürgen Rathofer and et al. Are widely distributed by the Andromeda Mail Order Bookshop in Nuremberg, which issues monthly catalogs in which similar material is listed alongside the literature of conspiracy theory, channeling, New Age spirituality, and redemption." Now, quickly about the name Andromeda, the Andromeda Mail Order Bookshop. Andromeda is the name of the galaxy that I believe is closest to ours, which is, ours is the Milky Way galaxy. So the name of that bookshop is called Andromeda because extraterrestrials and, other solar systems, life on other planets, other star systems, other worlds are very popular in the New Age. So that's what that's referring to. Goodrick Clark also writes a lot in his book about a popular conspiracy theorist named Jan Van Helsing, or maybe Jan Van Helsing. He says, quote, "Helsing's books remain bestsellers in Germany through the Andromeda Mail Order Bookshop and similar New Age outlets. The endemic spread of conspiracy theories in the New Age milieu is a disturbing phenomenon." Now, I did a bit of research on Goodrick Clark, and he seems to be a bit of a New Ager himself, although he may not have called himself that. He's a professor of esoteric studies and has a lot of involvement with esoteric groups and scholars, involvement with some Rosicrucians and Freemasons. So I'm not completely sure, but I believe that he finds the spread of conspiracy theories in the New Age disturbing because I think he is against conspiracy theory and thinks it may be contaminating the New Age, which I would assume he probably supports or looks kindly upon, but I don't really know. But he does recognize that it is in fact a growing trend within the New Age to embrace conspiracy theory, at least in Germany. And the fact that he and I have completely opposing worldviews, yet we both recognize the same thing happening, I think that should actually give some very solid weight to this growing phenomenon, because when you have two people with two opposing worldviews recognizing the exact same thing happening, then you know that this is not the result of one person's interpretation or someone else's personal bias. Two people with two completely different worldviews who have different and opposing interpretations about almost anything. We both see this happening, that conspiracy theory is becoming increasingly popular in the New Age. So this is really happening. It's not really debatable. And despite him being in esoteric and occult thought, he seems to have done a lot of useful research in this book as well as others. And I'm going to be returning to this book, and we're going to be talking a lot more about this German conspiracy theorist, Jan Van Helsing, a little later on, to tie in the whole Nazi phenomenon with the New Age and conspiracy theory. It all ties in with the books of Alice Bailey and Helena Blavatsky, but we'll come back to that later. I don't want to throw too much at you at once. The point right now is to show how popular conspiracy theory is becoming in the New Age and vice versa. I also found a video on YouTube called "The New Age Infiltration of the Truth Movement." And this guy here, I'm not sure of his name, I believe he is a Christian, and he talks about how the New Age has infiltrated the Truth Movement. Now let me take a brief moment to define the Truth Movement. The Truth Movement primarily originally referred to the 9/11 Truth Movement, which believes that 9/11 was an inside job and all that. But the Truth Movement has gained momentum as sort of a broader umbrella term for this movement that seeks to expose not just the truth behind 9/11, but behind all these other conspiracies as well. So the Truth Movement refers to a unified movement of conspiracy theorists. And of course, they would say that they don't entertain conspiracy theories, they entertain the truth, hence the name the Truth Movement. It's another name for conspiracy theorists, basically a name that conspiracy theorists would probably prefer to be called by. They usually, I think, refer to themselves as truthers. So this guy is a conspiracy theorist. He seems to be affiliated with this branch of the Truth Movement called Toronto Truth Seekers. And like I said, he seems to be a Christian. He is very anti-Blavatsky, very anti-Alice Bailey, very anti-New Age, but I think he's a little misguided. I don't think he really understands what he is involved with being part of this Truth Movement conspiracy theory thing, but he is very, very passionate about it. It seems like he's very passionate about exposing all these conspiracies from 9/11 to the drug companies, CIA, covert operations, all that. And he has noticed how the New Age has infiltrated the Truth Movement, and he says that they have spread some lies. But I don't think he really understands why exactly the New Age is involved involved in conspiracy theory or the truth movement. He just thinks that they have recently begun to infiltrate the truth movement and spread lies. Now, if that were true, that would imply that the New Age seems to be maybe trying to stop the truth movement or discredit it, or that maybe there are just some New Age leaders who are frauds and spreading false information to try and sell books and stuff. I don't really know. He says there's a reason for this contamination of the truth movement by the New Age, but he doesn't actually say what the real reason is. He just says that there's a New Age agenda and it's tied in with the alien agenda, which is absolutely true. I agree with that completely, but he doesn't really say specifically what the New Age's agenda or purpose is in infiltrating the truth movement. He alludes to this idea of contaminating the knowledge pool, and again, that would suggest that he's arguing that the New Agers with their spirit guides and alien guides are trying to spread disinformation within the truth movement to try and discredit it or stop the truth from getting out or to lead people astray or whatever. Now, if that's what he's saying, and that really seems to be what he is suggesting, that's actually the exact opposite of what I think is happening. The New Age agenda with regard to the conspiracy theory truth movement is to be in complete control of it and not spread lies, but rather spread the truth and be the only one spreading the truth about 9/11, the drug companies, etc. I don't think this guy quite understands what the New Age is actually using the truth movement for. But I think it's interesting that he sees a growing trend of New Agers involved in the truth movement. And there have been two other Christians, one Keith Thompson, who produced the film Aquarius Age of Evil, and then the Vigilant Christian. He's a YouTuber with a pretty large YouTube channel. Both of them have actually addressed this as well, this New Age infiltration of the truth movement and how the New Age is using the truth movement to indoctrinate people into the New Age religion. The Vigilant Christian especially says that, and while I think that he does make some good points, I think his fundamental thesis is off. I mean no disrespect to him, I don't think he's a deceiver at all. I think he's done a lot of good work in exposing New Age leaders and their influence on our society, and he's a former New Ager himself. In fact, he says that he was actually indoctrinated into the New Age through the truth movement. And I believe it may have been Peter Joseph's film Zeitgeist that did it to him. And we're going to be talking about Peter Joseph and the Zeitgeist film later on, because they're very important in making sense of all this. But even though he was indoctrinated into the New Age through the truth movement, the Vigilant Christian still supports the truth movement. He's said repeatedly that he's a truther. I think it should have raised a red flag for him about what the truth movement actually is, if you know, through that movement he was swept into the current of the New Age. And he's not the only one who's been sucked into the New Age through the truth movement and films like Zeitgeist. This is happening to thousands of people. And again, Peter Joseph's film Zeitgeist has been a big part of this New Age indoctrination of people through conspiracy theory. In fact, when I first watched Zeitgeist years ago, it had an enormous effect on me. I wasn't quite indoctrinated into the New Age, but it shook my world. And again, I'll go more into that later on, but I think there's a deeper relationship between the New Age and the truth movement. If you want to think of the New Age as a tree, I think conspiracy theory and the truth movement is just a branch on that larger tree. And this is why I disagree with the notion of the New Age infiltration of the truth movement. I think that actually paints a false picture. When you say that something or someone is infiltrating an organization, the two things, you know, that is the thing infiltrating and the thing being infiltrated, are completely separate, and then one infiltrates the other. Infiltration would be an accurate word to describe what is happening with the church and the New Age. You know, the New Age infiltration of the church. That's the proper use of the word infiltration. The New Age and the church, two separate things that were once completely at odds with one another, and now they're coming, unfortunately, into a more harmonious relationship because the New Age has infiltrated the church. But the New Age and the truth movement, I don't think, are two separate things. I think the entire conspiracy theory realm is part of the New Age deception. It's part of the New Age movement. The truth movement is theirs completely. It's the property of the New Age. I think it always has been. And that's where I think people are being deceived. It's not that deceptive elements are infiltrating the truth movement. The truth movement itself is part of the deception. And I'm not talking about the New Age beliefs that are associated with the truth movement. I'm not saying those are the deception. No, I'm saying the very truth movement itself, the revealing of these conspiracies as fact, is part of the deception and indoctrination into the New Age. Now, don't get me wrong, I want to be clear. I believe 100% that 9/11 was a government conspiracy. I absolutely believe Bush was part of it. I believe that those towers on 9/11 came down as a result of controlled explosions. I think it's insane to think that a plane striking the top of a building hundreds and hundreds of feet above its foundation will make the entire foundation and inner structure collapse. I've seen demolition videos of buildings being taken down by demolition crews with controlled explosions that didn't go down as perfectly as the Twin Towers did. So I think you're painfully naive if you think those weren't controlled demolitions. And there are plenty of original eyewitnesses who were there that say that they heard bombs going off, but still most of the world doesn't want to believe it. And I believe 100% that the government is purposefully making our population sick so that we buy prescription drugs and so that we aren't as smart as we should be and all that. But again, going back to the train analogy and the supervillain who purposefully destroys the track so that he can fly in and save the day, the threat is real. You know, the train track is really destroyed. It's a real threat. I'm not denying that. This counterfeit New World Order is absolutely real, just like a counterfeit $100 bill is physically real, and it can really fool someone into thinking it's the real deal. But if you accept a counterfeit $100 bill as the real thing, you know, you think it's the real thing, you've been tricked, you've been deceived, you've been had. And likewise, if you accept this counterfeit New World Order that is currently on the rise as the real thing, I think you're being deceived. I think you're being had, because what I think is happening is that there's a sinister plan to use the very real threat to get you to trust someone very, very evil. And I'm saying be suspicious of who comes to rescue you from this threat, because Satan and the New Age are waiting with open arms to rescue you from these feelings of fear and hopelessness that you might feel as a result of learning about this counterfeit New World Order rising, about learning about all these conspiracies. So I'm going to end part 2 here, but just to sum up this part, there have been a few others who have noted that there is some activity between the New Age and the Truth Movement, that truthers are often New Agers and vice versa, but I suspect a much deeper connection between the New Age and the Truth Movement. The New Age is virtually in complete control of the Truth Movement right now, and the whole conspiracy theory media. And we'll start looking at the many examples of this in the next part. And what we'll also begin to look at either in the next part or possibly in part 4 is the deep roots of this connection between the New Age and the Truth Movement. While the Truth Movement itself, as it is today, obviously has not been around for a very long time, the core of it, that is, the idea that we're living in a control matrix operated by dark evil, shadow groups and cabals who want to enslave us, is actually a very, very ancient idea that stretches back thousands of years to an early form of the modern New Age called Gnosticism. And that is ultimately what I see coming, a Gnostic war, a spiritual and psychological war against God and his people. And conspiracy theory and the Truth Movement is all tied in with this, so stay tuned for part 3. Alright, this is part 3 of What's Really Coming, a counterfeit New World Order and a real great deception. I want to begin part 3 by continuing with this idea of the New Age infiltration of the Truth Movement, and further showing that infiltration is not what is happening, that the New Age is not infiltrating the Truth Movement. Infiltration is the wrong word, and I think it paints a false picture of what is actually happening. I want to debunk this idea because this is not something that's just thrown out there by a couple people. I think it's a widespread understanding of the New Age's relationship with the Truth Movement, particularly by Christians, that they believe that the New Age is infiltrating the Truth Movement. That is a phrase I see over and over again. And so, like I said, I want to debunk this idea before we go any further. I want to take my time with this series, and so I want to go through this slowly and fully debunk this idea that this is not what is happening. The New Age has a much deeper relationship fundamentally with the Truth Movement, to where it doesn't need to infiltrate the Truth Movement because it's essentially already under the control of the New Age and is in perfect alignment with its goals. To say that the New Age is infiltrating the truth movement would be to imply that the truth movement is something separate from the New Age that the New Age wants to subvert because it might be dangerous to its goals. And that's what I'm trying to debunk. The truth movement is not dangerous to the goals of the New Age. It is in perfect alignment. It's in perfect congruence with the New Age. So what is infiltration? Well, firstly, you infiltrate an enemy organization, not a friendly or partner organization. So when you say that something is infiltrating something else, you are implying that the two entities are opposed to one another and that they are enemies. But like I said, the New Age and the Truth Movement are not enemies. They never have been. Let's look real quick at a couple official definitions of infiltration so you know what I'm talking about. One is, quote, the action of entering or gaining access to an organization or place surreptitiously. That means secretly, especially in order to acquire secret information or cause damage. So the idea of causing damage or subverting. So if you say the New Age is infiltrating the Truth Movement, you're saying that the New Age is trying to cause damage to the Truth Movement. Again, that is the exact opposite of what I think is happening. This is generally what people think is happening with the New Age, that it's sneaking into the Truth Movement in order to contaminate it or cause harm to it or subvert it. And like I said, infiltration is the proper word to use with respect to the New Age and the church, which are enemies, or supposed to be at least. And Satan wants and needs the New Age to subvert the church, cause it harm, and contaminate it in order to suppress God's truth and teach that we're all gods, not just Jesus. And the definition of infiltration in a military sense means, quote, a method of attack in which small bodies of soldiers or individuals penetrate the enemy's line at weak or unguarded points in order to assemble behind the enemy position and attack it from the rear, harass enemy rear area installations, etc. So again, here infiltration means attacking an enemy. This is not what is happening. The New Age is not attacking, subverting, or causing harm to the Truth Movement. Truth Movement and the New Age are not enemies. The Truth Movement is a branch of the New Age. It is part of the New Age. Now, some might object by saying, well, by New Age infiltration of the Truth Movement, we just mean that the New Age is sneaking into the Truth Movement in order to spread lies or to use it as a way of spreading their teachings. Well, if you say that, that's a misuse of the word infiltration. But even still, that would still paint a false picture of what is happening. To say that the New Age is sneaking into the Truth Movement to spread their beliefs, that sounds more like, theoretically speaking, if the New Age decided to take over the DMV and use it to spread their beliefs. If that was happening, you could say the New Age is sneaking into the DMV, filling the DMV with their own agents to spread the New Age religion. But in that case, the DMV would be just a tool, and only a tool, because of its connection to the public, its access to people, communication with people. You know, people are always stopping in at the DMV, and the New Age would be using it merely as a tool to spread their religion. And there would be no deep underlying connection between the New Age and the DMV. The DMV, again, is just a tool for the New Age in that scenario. And that's really how it sounds to me when people say the New Age has infiltrated the Truth Movement and they're using it to spread their religion. They seem to think the Truth Movement is a separate organization like the DMV, that the New Age is merely using the Truth Movement, that is, as a tool or a method for spreading their religion. People do not seem to realize that there is a deep connection between the New Age and the Truth Movement. And like I said at the end of part 2, this connection stretches back thousands of years, and we'll look at that very shortly. But before we look at the ancient roots of this partnership, we're going to focus on the modern day relationship between the New Age and the Truth Movement. And I'm going to try to show you that the Truth Movement is virtually overrun or completely controlled by the New Age. And I don't think Christian truthers realize how much in the minority they are, that they are in when it comes to the Truth Movement membership. And again, the reason that the New Age is so rampant in the Truth Movement is because the Truth Movement and the whole conspiracy theory realm are very much catalysts toward a New Age worldview and are more complementary of a New Age belief system than they are of a Christian belief system. That's why you have countless testimonies of people being indoctrinated into the New Age through the Truth Movement, just like Vigilant Christian. He's one of these examples. So I think a lot of Christian truthers are under the false impression that the Truth Movement belongs to Christianity or is fundamentally Christian. And I think that mostly has to do with the false assumption by Christian truthers that the Truth Movement exposes the real plans of the Antichrist. But it doesn't. That's what I'm trying to get at here. And I think a lot of Christian truthers think that this is why the New Age may be trying to infiltrate or contaminate the truth movement, because the truth movement is revealing Satan's plans, and Satan is sending New Agers into the truth movement to stop it, to stop his plans from getting out. And this is, again, what I'm trying to disprove in these videos. The truth movement does not expose the Antichrist, but merely exposes a mirage or an illusion that the world will soon rise up and fight against under the false pretense that they're defeating evil once and for all. And the truth movement is not exposing the plans of the Antichrist, but is actually fulfilling the plans of the Antichrist. I think the truth movement is preparing very slowly the world for a New Age initiation, which is again going to be accomplished in large part through conspiracy theory or the revealing of the plans of this fake New World Order. And the New Age gives us clues to this plan. The New Age asserts that fear is a powerful catalyst toward transformation. And that's what this is all about, and that's what I'll start to unpack here as we go through this series. Fear is a powerful catalyst toward transformation. And that's how Satan's going to, I think, get the vast majority of the world to buy into the New Age lie. So I found a Truth Movement Facebook group. Now there are specifically 9/11 Truth Facebook groups, but this seems to be just a broader Truth Movement group, of which 9/11 Truth is just one part of it. And while scrolling through this group, I found all kinds of pictures and quotes and news that members of this Truth Movement group post. All of the posts on this group, it's one after the other. New Age quote after New Age quote after New Age picture after New Age picture, over and over again. More and more solid proof that the New Age is in complete control of the truth movement. I don't have time to go through all the New Age pictures and quotes that are posted on here, but I'll go through several here, and this should give you a good snapshot of how the truth movement thinks and how their minds operate. It is not by a Christian worldview. Christian truthers are in the extreme minority. Truthers generally gravitate toward New Age ideas and concepts. And again, these are pictures and quotes that members of this group, members of this truth movement group, post themselves. Firstly here, find yourself. The whole idea of finding yourself, finding out who you are, a common theme in the New Age. It stems from the ancient mystery school concept of know thyself. Second one here, you have a picture of a Buddha statue. Buddhism is one of the most popular religions in New Age spirituality. And you have this quote that is supposedly is said by expanded consciousness. They say this over and over again, expanded consciousness, which is definitely one of the top phrases in the New Age. And it says, do not be fearful of challenging your own beliefs. It can lead to great enlightenment. Now, already right there, two more New Age themes. Challenging your beliefs, they say that all the time. Challenge your belief system. And then the idea of enlightenment, waking up by the Kundalini, becoming God, all that. Skipping to the end, sometimes in the school of life, it is not only important to continue learning, but to unlearn that which does not agree with you anymore. Go within. Again, going within, huge idea in the New Age. God is inside you. Go within yourself, meditate. And the whole idea of unlearning that which does not agree with you. Again, that's the whole idea of challenging your beliefs. And although they won't say it, that usually has to do with letting go of any Christian beliefs that might be holding you back from realizing your God. The third one here, a quote from Buddha. Again, Buddha, big figure in the New Age. So is Jesus, but it's a different Jesus. The Buddha is the exact same as he is in Buddhism. Buddha says 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. So here you have the sun and the moon, Osiris and Isis, big objects of worship in the mystery schools, Freemasonry, the New Age. And then notice the third thing he says, can't long be hidden: the truth movement. That's what the truth movement is about, revealing the once hidden truth about the world. Next we have the future is not something we enter, the future is something we create. Here at the bottom, discover your aura. That's a New Agey. Creating your future, another thing they always talk about in the New Age. Creating your co-creator. You create your future, you create your destiny. And I think this is a subtle reference to the real New World Order that I'm talking about, the future that we as humanity will create ourselves. Next, another similar New Age quote: your imagination should be used not to escape reality, but create it. Again, the idea of creation. Next, a drawing of someone in meditation with all the New Age rainbow colors, and another quote that I think references the real New World Order that I'm talking about. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new, i.e. the New World Order, the real one. Next, a quote from Gandhi. Gandhi is another big figure in the New Age. There is a force in the universe which, if we permit it, will flow through us and produce miraculous results. So there, the New Age idea, the universal force, the New Age God inside us all that we're all a part of, and that we can use and harness to do miracles with. Next, a quote from the Dalai Lama, a Buddhist leader, saying, "People take different roads seeking fulfillment and happiness. Just because they're not on your road doesn't mean they've gotten lost." Again, the New Age idea that all paths lead to God, and I think that this quote here is a specific jab at Christianity, because Christians, we always talk about saving the lost and how there's only one path to God. And here he says how if someone's not, or someone's on a different spiritual path than you, it doesn't mean they're lost. I think that's a little sarcastic, probably a sarcastic jab at Christianity. And another New Age quote here about peace and unity, one love, pretty simple, basic New Age stuff. Next, a quote from Jiddu Krishnamurti, another Eastern spiritual guru. He was actually the guy who the Theosophical Society was trying to make the next world teacher for a while, but that failed. He says, "When you call yourself an Indian or Muslim or Christian or European or anything else, you are being violent. Do you see why it is violent? Because you are separating yourself from the rest of mankind. When you separate yourself by belief, by rationality, by tradition, it breeds violence. So a man who is seeking to understand violence does not belong to any country, to any religion, to any political party or partial system. He is concerned with the total understanding of mankind. So you're violent if you subscribe to any specific religion." Again, that's Madame Blavatsky right there. That's the New Age. That's the real New World Order. Forget about religion. We're all one humanity. Next, a quote from Alan Watts, a British philosopher who was also into Eastern New Age thought. He said, "You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself." Again, you're the universe. You're God. We're all part of God and the universe. The same stuff over and over again. Another one, "The greatest souls are awakened out of suffering." And you have this drawing of someone getting an enlightened, awakened soul. And I'm going to come back to this one specifically in this idea of awakening out of suffering. This is what I'm talking about with conspiracy theory and a fake New World Order rising to scare humanity into waking up. So we'll come back to this one. This is important. And the last one here, I saved this one for last. One life, one humanity, one consciousness. It doesn't get any more quintessentially New Age than that. And you have here this person walking into the tree, like like in the Garden of Eden, walking into the tree of knowledge or the tree of life. Both are big in the New Age. So I'll in part 3 here, but this should give you a good idea of how much New Age thought is tied in with the truth movement at the popular level. This is what a lot of truthers gravitate toward, and in the next part we'll start looking at more specifically some of the big leaders and celebrities of the truth movement and the New Age and how they coincide. So stay tuned for part 4. Part 4 of What's Really Coming, a Counterfeit New World Order and a Real Great Deception. Before we start looking at some of the big conspiracy theorists and their New Age beliefs, I want to firmly lay the historical and spiritual background for all of this and go into the deep connection between the New Age and the truth movement. As I alluded to at the end of part 2, the key to understanding all of this is Gnosticism. And for those who don't know about Gnosticism, Gnosticism arose immediately after the New Testament was written in 2nd century Judea, and it taught the exact opposite of what the gospel writers were teaching about Jesus and the exact opposite of what the Old Testament teaches about God. Gnosticism's fundamental teachings are essentially the same as the New Age, which is the modern form of the mystery schools. And the New Age is really an umbrella term for all of those spiritual teachings which are traced back to the mystery schools, the secret pagan orders that taught ascension, achieving godhood, and worshiped the serpent as the great enlightener of mankind. And this is how I try to explain the New Age to people. The New Age is like ice cream, and the New Age, like ice cream, has many different flavors. But all of the flavors are ice cream. You know, they all have the same fundamental ingredients. All the different flavors, they're all still ice cream. But each flavor of ice cream has its own specific characteristics that make it a specific or unique flavor. Chocolate, vanilla, cookies and cream, Rocky Road, whatever. They're all different flavors, but they're all still ice cream, and that's how it is with the New Age. The New Age is like the broader category of ice cream, and you have all these specific flavors. Freemasonry, Illuminism, Rosicrucianism, Buddhism, Hinduism, witchcraft, theosophy, and of course Gnosticism. And so, like all the other flavors of the New Age or the mystery schools, Gnosticism teaches ascension, reincarnation, enlightenment, that our souls or spirits have always existed eternally, and that we're all part of God or the universe. And Gnosticism teaches that you become enlightened or awakened through the acquisition of special knowledge or gnosis, which is where the word Gnosticism comes from. And essentially what this special knowledge is that enlightens you or wakes you up is that you are living in an illusory reality. You're living in an illusion. You're living in a fake reality under the control of evil spiritual beings called archons. And if you've ever seen the movie The Matrix, that is exactly how the Gnostics view the world. That our real selves are asleep, that we're living in this illusion or made-up reality created to control us and keep us spiritually disempowered. And the tentacle things called the Sentinels in the movie, those are essentially meant to represent the archons of Gnosticism. They make sure that we remain asleep and unaware of the true reality and our true power. And what Keanu Reeves' character, Neo, essentially goes through in the movie is a Gnostic awakening. All the stars in the movie, they all have these superhuman powers, and Neo progressively gains these superhuman psychic and telekinetic abilities through the course of the film. And his character's name, Neo, is no accident. It's chosen intentionally. Neo means new, and so Keanu Reeves' character Neo represents the new age, the new man, the new human, one who's awakened out of the material prison of the body and the earth, and who has tapped into their own magical, godlike powers. Here's the Wikipedia entry for the synopsis of the movie. Quote, The Matrix is a 1999 science fiction film written and directed by the Wachowskis, starring Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie-Anne Moss, Hugo Weaving, and Joe Pantoliano. It depicts a dystopian future in which reality as perceived by most humans is actually a simulated reality called the Matrix, created by sentient machines to subdue the human population while their bodies' heat and electrical activity are used as an energy source. Computer programmer Neo learns this truth and is drawn into a rebellion against the machines, which involves other people who have been freed from the dream world.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Matrix.
Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
Now, the very title of the film, The Matrix, is Gnostic, the control matrix that today's New Agers say we are living in. And you will often hear conspiracy theorists use this term, control matrix, or just simply the Matrix. They use that term all the time because that's what they believe is going on. That evil entities, whether it's a secret human power structure or whether it's actually a hierarchy of spiritual entities, have created this false reality to feed off of us and keep us enslaved. And the point is to break out of the Matrix and destroy it, to awaken and destroy the Matrix. And that's the Gnostic awakening. And that's what the conspiracy theory media is doing. It's telling people about this control matrix and telling us that we have hidden power within us. And this is the Gnostic New Age spiritual message that is often tied in with conspiracy theory. We have spiritual powers that we can activate, that the elite have hidden from us, and we must rise up together as one human family, destroy the Matrix, overthrow the elite, and build an enlightened global society free of slavery and control. And again, the main theme here is awakening. Awakening out of our sleep, awakening to who you truly are, awakening to the reality of the powers that control us and keep us enslaved. Awakening to our true power. Now here's the real satanic twist to this whole thing. The leader of these archons, or spiritual rulers, according to Gnosticism, the leader of these evil spiritual powers who enslave us is Jehovah, the God of the Bible, the God of the Old Testament, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And according to Gnostics, Jesus is not the son of the Old Testament God. He's not, the incarnated God of the Old Testament as biblical Christianity teaches. The two are completely different opposing entities. The God of the Old Testament, he's the enslaver of mankind who created this evil material world to enslave us all. And it's Lucifer, the serpent, who came in the Garden of Eden to give us gnosis, to wake us up, to help give us the knowledge that Jehovah was trying to keep hidden from us. So again, according to Gnosticism, we're living in an illusory control matrix meant to keep us enslaved, and the leader of it is the God of the Jews. Now, I use the term the God of the Jews because this is going to be really important in understanding the anti-Semitic tendencies of conspiracy theory. Because over and over again, time after time, the main evil group controlling the world, whether it's real or not, according to conspiracy theory, the ones enslaving the human population are the Jews. Mostly it's the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds are a Jewish family. And I hope this will start to make more sense as I go along. But I want to be clear about something before I go any further. I am no apologist for modern-day Jews or modern-day Israel. Jews need Jesus just like every Gentile, and Israel is using a demonic symbol in their flag. I'm no apologist or denier of whatever Jewish Illuminati groups may actually be in control of the world right now. But you have to understand that the mystery school initiates, the New Agers, the Gnostics, the Freemasons, they see no difference between a fundamentalist Christian like myself and a modern-day Jew. Because to them, we both worship the same God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of the Old Testament, Jehovah. And like I've said before, this is all about a satanic Gnostic war against Jehovah, against the God of the Bible, the God of the Jews, the God of the Christians. And again, I'm talking about this from their perspective. As a Christian, I know that the modern-day religious Jew does not worship the same God as I do. I get that, but from the mystery school perspective, the Gnostic New Age perspective, Jews and Christians are all the same because we all worship Jehovah, the God who tried to keep mankind enslaved in the Garden of Eden. So you have to keep that in mind. You have to keep their perspective in mind for this to all make sense. And from their perspective, modern-day Jews and fundamentalist Christians, quote-unquote fundamentalist Christians, which means Christians who take the Bible literally, we're all children of the evil Jehovah. So, getting back to Gnosticism and the control matrix, I'm going to read something from a guidebook to a lecture series called The History of Christian Theology. It's supposed to be a textual counterpart to this lecture series on Christianity. And Professor Philip Carey, he gives a good summary of Gnosticism and uses a word that is very, very key to this whole puzzle. He says, quote, "For Gnostics, the physical world, including earth and heaven, planets and stars, is an evil prison for our spirits, which come from outside this world beyond space and time. The angels in the heavens are often called rulers or archons. They are evil and try to block the soul's escape from this world after death. The soul or spirit is divine, belonging to the other world, which is why it wants to escape this world and all bodily things where it is not really at home." So hopefully you can see that conspiracy theory is actually built into Gnosticism. It was built into Gnosticism from the very beginning. This is not a recent development, and according to Gnosticism, there is this massive conspiracy against the human race to keep us spiritually asleep. Remember that, a massive conspiracy against the human race to keep us spiritually asleep and unaware of our true God selves. Now, if you remember this book I referenced back in part 2, Black Sun, Aryan Cults, Esoteric Nazism, and the Politics of Identity by Nicholas Goodrick Clark. I told you I'd be returning to this book a lot because it has a lot of very important information, and we're going to keep coming back to this book as we unpack all of this stuff. Goodrick Clark also picks up on this connection between Gnosticism and conspiracy theory, and how conspiracy theory is at the very core or foundation of Gnosticism. And remember, he is not a Christian, so the fact that he's also seeing this connection should give some weight to this. Obviously, he's not coming to the same conclusions about what it actually means, but as far as the evidence goes, he sees it too. He says, quote, "As we have seen, conspiracy theory may be traced to ancient religious ideas involving humanity's thrall to an evil, lower God who created matter and the inferior realm. Only the intervention of a higher, merciful God can enable man to attain spiritual redemption." So that's Gnosticism he's referring to, ancient religious ideas involving humanity's thrall to an evil, lower God, that's Jehovah, who created matter and the inferior realm. The evil, lower God who created matter, the God of the Bible according to Gnosticism. So from the Gnostic's perspective, the God of the Bible is evil. He's the one who tried to enslave us all in the Garden of Eden. He's still trying to enslave us all. He and his army of archons or angels and are trying to keep us spiritually unaware or asleep to our true godlike selves. And he and his army of archons have been the leaders of this massive conspiracy against mankind to enslave us and keep us from waking up. And going back to Professor Carey, I'll read what he said one more time. "For Gnostics, the physical realm, including earth and heaven, planets and stars, is an evil prison for our spirits, which come from outside this world, beyond space and time. The angels in the heavens are often called rulers or archons. They are evil and try to block the soul's escape from this world after death. The solar spirit is divine, belonging to the other world, which is why it wants to escape this world and all bodily things, where it is not really at home." The key word he uses here is prison. The physical world, the earth we are living in, is an evil prison. Modern conspiracy theorists and New Agers use this word prison all the time when speaking about the control matrix that the evil shadow groups have built to enslave us and to keep us asleep. Prison or prison planet is a buzzword for the whole genre of Gnosticism, New Age, and conspiracy theory.
Born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
David Wilcock is one of these Gnostic New Agers who always talks about how we are in a prison. And this is someone who claims to have channeled spirits, who says there's no literal second coming of Christ. We, humanity, are the second coming of Christ when we all achieve Christ consciousness together. He's one of the biggest New Age figures out there. And he's a guest on Conspiracy Theory Radio all the time. I've heard him on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie multiple times. George Norrie, I used to think was a Christian, and I've come to realize he is not at all. He's much more of a New Ager. On his website, David Wilcock's website, divinecosmos.com, again, that's New Agey right there, the cosmos or universe is divine as God. He wrote back in April in a post entitled, "The Ascension Mysteries Have Been Solved." He says, quote, "They have kept us in a prison of the mind all of our lives, constraining our access to information until we can no longer tell fact from fiction, reality from fantasy." So prison of the mind, and they're trying to keep us from learning information. Remember, this is, for Gnostics, it's a war over information and a war over your mind. Now, who is the they? Well, that's obviously the Illuminati. They are the evil shadow groups, the evil cabals, and he's referring to the Matrix when he speaks of this prison of the mind, this counterfeit reality. David Icke is another big New Age conspiracy theorist, definitely one of the biggest ones out there, who he spreads the New Age belief in our inner godhood, raising consciousness, all the typical New Age stuff, even though he denies he's a New Ager. He also uses this Gnostic language of a prison planet and the prison of the mind. Here's one example. Listen to him talk about imprisonment by the hidden hand of the Illuminati.
Now, this is the greatest form of imprisonment. It's what I call the prison without the bars. What happened was, eventually, the colonial powers of Europe, like the British Empire, they reached the point with their colonies around the world where they could no longer hold on to that power overtly, because the people were starting to kick up a stink. There's two forms of dictatorship. There's one that you can see, touch, taste, and experience. Fascism, communism, whatever. Centralization of power with a dictator, and you know he's a dictator. It may take some time, but eventually the desire for freedom in the human heart will rebel against that kind of dictatorship, because you can see it. You can focus on it. The greatest form of dictatorship is the hidden hand which gives you the illusion of freedom while fundamentally controlling your lives. Because people do not rebel against not being free when they believe they are. So like I say, what happened was when the colonial powers apparently pulled out of North America, pulled out of Africa, pulled out of Asia, and Australia, and all these other countries, they left behind their secret society network and the bloodlines that they're so obsessed with, and they have gone on controlling those countries ever since, while the people of those countries have believed they were free. The prison without the bars. And this spider's web I'm talking about allows that process to happen. And the spider, that which is really calling the shots, really orchestrating the centralization of global power, the fascist state, is not among those that we see. If you can see them, they're still gophers. Maybe powerful gophers on the level they operate, like Bush or Blair or whatever, but they're still gophers. The people really behind this you never see, because why are they going to put themselves on public display where they can be identified and targeted?
In his book, Children of the Matrix, again, there's the word the Matrix, he describes this Matrix prison. Quote, "Everyone plays a part in everyone else's mental, emotional, and physical imprisonment. All the controllers have to do is pull the right strings at the right time and make their human puppets dance to the appropriate tune. This they do by dictating what is taught by what we bravely call education, and what passes for news through the media they own. In this way, they can dictate to the unthinking, unquestioning herd what it should believe about itself, other people, life, history, and current events." Jordan Maxwell, another big conspiracy theorist, he also uses this concept of the matrix of control created by the secret elite of the world.
They do not want you to think too much. That is why our country and our world has become so proliferated with entertainments, mass media, game shows, television shows, amusement parks, drugs, alcohol, and every kind of entertainment to keep the human mind entertained, so that you don't get in the way of important people by doing too much thinking. You had better wake up and understand that there are people who are guiding your life and you don't even know it.
He has a book called Matrix of Power, How the World Has Been Controlled by Powerful People Without Your Knowledge. Again, there's the Matrix, and it should come as no surprise that he is a mystery school, New Age Blavatskyite. Listen to him here proclaim his fondness for Blavatsky.
Mrs. Blavatsky, she's...
Helena Petrovna Blavatsky?
Right.
Yes. Yes, I have all of her works.
You have?
Yes.
Well, that's why... Yes.
I think her best work was Isis Unveiled, Part 2, which is theology.
Right. Science.
And that was an exceptional work. I think that Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, the Russian mystic, was a very wise and perceptive lady, and she had some very profound knowledge.
Okay, this is part 5 of What's Really Coming, a Counterfeit New World Order and a Real Great Deception. Picking up where we left off, how this notion of the Matrix or prison planet that is fundamental to the conspiracy theory program is rooted in Gnosticism, which blames the evil Jehovah, the God of the Bible, for creating this evil prison we know as planet Earth. And that is the foundation for all conspiracy theory. All conspiracy theory is rooted in Gnosticism. And all, if not at least the vast majority of conspiracy theorists, preach New Age beliefs, and that's why the truth movement is, and always has been, part of the New Age. It has not been taken over or infiltrated by the New Age. Revealing the truth about this prison planet is central to the Gnostic New Age agenda. So we ended last time with talking about David Icke, David Wilcock, and Jordan Maxwell, three big examples of conspiracy theorists who are also avid anti-Christian New Agers and who appeal to the concept of the Matrix, or the fake controlled reality created by the secret elite. And there are many other examples of conspiracy theorists who use this Gnostic concept of the Matrix or prison planet. Another example is conspiracy theorist Alan Watt, another big New World Order researcher, and his website is called Cutting Through the Matrix.
Therefore, the leaders are presented to us on screen with uniforms or business suits and ties as politicians who speak with confidence, all scripted of course, and they seem to have everything under control. You're now basically a fearful slave looking up to the powerful master to defend and protect you. That's the simple technique of it.
Now I want to shift gears here and look at just how popular this idea of the Matrix or prison planet is in the more blatant New Age community. Instead of looking at it through the conspiracy theory angle, we'll look at it from the New Age community, or the ones whose main message is New Age doctrine. And my goal here is to further show how the New Age and conspiracy theory are intertwined, that they're part of the same phenomenon. Because conspiracy theorists and New Agers, they're saying the same thing. They're using the same ideas. New Age author Deanne Hampton also talks about the mind prison in her book, The Shining Ones, Ambassadors of the New Age of Light. She says, "Rise up, beings of infinite light and endless joy. You are in the gap right now to your freedom. Depending on how far into the void you are, much of your being is fed by the constructs of your condition and how much is infused and vibrating with the frequency of your divinity." Right? There's that New Age tagline that we're God, we're divine. This is what determines the direction of your reach. When your reality begins to spin and things seem not in your control and your expectation is not met, do you reach out to the prison of your conditioned mind and choose to see and be and respond with the denser vibrations of your known history, or do you allow the unparalleled frequency of love to create, transform, heal, and harmonize all things for your shifting reality and for your evolving world? She's saying when your reality begins to spin and things seem not in your control, this is the revealing of the fake New World Order that I'm talking about, showing all the shadow groups, the Illuminati, showing, for example, that 9/11 was an inside job. And what this does to people is it gets people to realize, oh my gosh, the whole world is a mess. It's out of my control. And then she says, do you reach into the prison of your conditioned mind? There's again that mind prison that we're stuck in. And she's saying, when you realize that things are out of your control, do you reach into your physical mind prison? And denser vibrations in the New Age vibrations, everything's vibrations. There's higher vibrations and lower vibrations. And she's saying denser vibrations are the lower vibrations of our known history, of our bodies, of our, of this world. And then she says, and this is the alternative she wants you to pick, or do you allow the unparalleled frequency of love? Okay, there's that New Age, everything's love, everything's one, transformation, healing, harmonizing of all things. And then she talks about the shifting reality and the evolving world. Again, that's another thing. And that's what all these New Agers, they always talk about, our shifting reality, our evolving world. Things are transforming, things are shifting. So again, the mind prison, the prison for your mind that Morpheus from the movie The Matrix talked about. That's why I showed that clip. It's key to understanding all of this. Lawrence Fishburne's character Morpheus talking to Keanu Reeves' character Neo, the new man, the new human. This is what she's doing. She's taking the place, she's taking on the role of Morpheus and telling you about your reality, about your prisoned mind. She's trying to get you to wake up, just like Morpheus does in the movie The Matrix. Next, this is a New Age blog website that I found. It's called Starship Earth, the big picture, and the tagline is what's happening on our planet and why. And you look at this blog post, The Matrix Story, the truth of our imprisonment, and it has a tag, Prison Planet. And so it's all the same stuff. And it says here, this is great background or refresher information about how we came to be trapped on this subservient prison planet and at the whim of those who enslaved us, out of reach of those who would set us free for the moment.
This is the greatest form of imprisonment.
You're now basically a fearful slave looking up to the powerful master.
You had better wake up and understand that there are people who are guiding your life and you don't even know it.
A prison for your mind.
So once again, it's the same message. We're slaves on this prison planet. And you'll notice here what I find here to be a very creepy picture with the caption, "Justice is coming." And that justice they're referring to is, I think, the overthrow of the fake New World Order, the Matrix, the counterfeit New World Order, the Matrix, the prison planet. And the New Age is going to overthrow it, bring in justice and freedom for the whole planet, transform it, evolve it to higher frequencies, higher vibrations, all that. And further down it says this can make all the difference in the Illuminati losing their power and humanity having Gaia back. And Gaia is Mother Earth, Mother Goddess in the New Age. You see, this is the New Age justice that I'm talking about, the overthrow of the counterfeit New World Order, the Illuminati, the human elite structure, the Matrix. This may come as a surprise to a lot of Christians who are into these fringe topics like New World Order and all that, but the New Age is very interested in the Illuminati and in exposing the Illuminati. That is not something that only Christians are into. In fact, New Agers are more into it than Christians are. And I followed a link on this blog page and it led me to this page, and it goes into more detail about the Matrix, the truth of our imprisonment on this prison planet. And if you scroll down, you can see a section called Archon Control. Now, if you remember what I said in part 4, that Archon is a specifically Gnostic term. I'll read here again what Professor Philip Carey says in summarizing Gnosticism. For Gnostics, the physical world, including earth and heaven, planets and stars, is an evil prison for our spirits, which come from outside this world, beyond space and time. The angels in the heavens are often called rulers or archons. They are evil and try to block the soul's escape from this world after death. The soul or spirit is divine, belonging to the other world, which is why it wants to escape this world and all bodily things where it is not really at home. So remember, Archon is a buzzword for Gnosticism. David Icke and Jordan Maxwell, they talk about the Archons. And here's another example. This is a video on YouTube, and it's a compilation of a bunch of New Age preaching. And the video is called Lords of Karma. Karma is a New Age law. What goes around comes around. Unfortunately, everybody's using that word nowadays. Prison Planet. Once again, Prison Planet, the Matrix. And in the description, the guy who posted the video says this, quote, "This clip demonstrates the mechanism that Archons use to gain control of the human soul at or before death through manipulation into an agreement. They have no real power beyond manipulating people into an agreement with them, and their purpose is to trap souls to then feed off of them in the reincarnation cycle." Okay, that's Gnosticism through and through. Archons are keeping us here enslaved. And once again, back to the Matrix clip with Morpheus telling Neo about the Matrix, the prison of the mind that we are stuck in, giving him the means to break out of it. The Archons have constructed this evil material world, according to Gnostics, to enslave us and keep us from realizing our true power. That's the Gnostic message, which is the foundation for all conspiracy theory. And the idea of imprisonment is part of the New Age belief structure. The Gnostic belief in the earth being an evil prison, it trickles down into all aspects of life within the New Age. New Agers will tell you that your body is a prison that you have to escape to achieve enlightenment. And along that same vein, conspiracy theorists will tell you politics, economics, and education are all prisons that keep you down. And the whole underlying theme in that message that, we're on a prison planet, or there are prisons that have been constructed to keep you down, is because you're God in the New Age. You're God, but you've been kept down, and you need to rise up and realize you're God. And what I believe is going to happen is that everyone on the planet will begin to realize that they've been living on this prison planet, and they will all have this New Age awakening and realize that they've been enslaved, that this secret knowledge has been kept from them. And they're all going to fight back against the quote-unquote Illuminati, fight back against the counterfeit New World Order, the powers that be, the elite, etc. And what will follow will be the real New World Order, the New Age of Aquarius, of Alice Bailey and Helena Blavatsky. Now I want to talk about one other big conspiracy theorist I haven't mentioned yet, who also presents to you the Gnostic propaganda of the Matrix, who also wants you to buy into the Gnostic message that we are living on a prison planet.
2013 was the year that the surveillance state was masterminded. 2014 was the year the police state was masterminded and rolled out, I would add. Major global takeovers, global government, the mask is coming off. Our journey towards totalitarianism is now becoming complete because the public has been put into an entertainment trance. And I want to talk about the trance and how they're controlling is coming up the next segment.
You have to make the decision that you want to see the Matrix. You have to make the decision that you want to go down the rabbit hole.
This all came together for me when I could finally see how Alex Jones fit into the picture. First of all, what is the name of Alex Jones's website? InfoWars. Now here's a quote I cited last time from New Ager and channeler David Wilcock in an article called "The Ascension Mysteries Have Been Solved." He said, "They have kept us in a prison of the mind all of our lives, constraining our access to information until we no longer can tell fact from fiction, reality from fantasy." That is part of the Gnostic conspiracy theory message, that they are keeping information from us, hence InfoWars. And see, this is something I've realized recently, the subtle difference between true biblical spiritual warfare and the Gnostic version of spiritual warfare, which is really information warfare. That's the Gnostic New Age version of spiritual warfare. They will say they are hiding information from you. That's the Gnostic tagline. And you have to understand that a true Christian will tell you, you know, there's a war for your soul, while a Gnostic will tell you there's a war for your mind. A New Ager will tell you they're hiding information or knowledge from you, i.e. your God, right? Because they want you to think you're a little god of light, and that we're all little gods of light, and we've just forgotten that. And the lords of darkness, the Illuminati, the shadow groups, maybe even the dark angels in the sky, are trying to keep us from remembering our eternal heritage. And so they will tell you they're hiding information from you, they are hiding secret knowledge from you, so that when you learn that information or knowledge, you get upset, you fight back, and you feel empowered. And you feel at one with everyone else who is empowered.
All of us together, of every race, color, and creed, as one humanity.
I've heard these New Agers over and over again talk about the information that the elite are hiding from us. That's what this is all about. They, and when I say they, I'm not talking about the elite or the Illuminati. I'm talking about the Gnostic conspiracy theorists, okay? They want us to believe information has been kept from us. They want us to be angry at the secret shadow groups, at the Illuminati, at the whatever. Secret knowledge has been hidden, secret knowledge that can empower you and make you remember that you are really a powerful spiritual being.
Humanity is magic. Humanity can literally reach to the stars and beyond. You will bloom, and that you will literally accelerate towards a higher level of enlightenment.
And if you think about it, what did Satan do in the Garden of Eden? He tricked Eve into thinking God was hiding information from her. Information that would make her powerful. You know, God told you the tree would kill you? No, 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 he's lying. It will really make you like God. He hasn't told you the whole story, or he's hiding something from you. That's been Satan's strategy from the beginning, and that's why Gnostics and New Agers honor the serpent as the real God, and Jehovah is evil to them. The God of the Bible is evil. He's the one that has enslaved us, or tried to. And getting back to this whole prison planet thing, I said back in part 4 that prison planet is a buzzword for Gnosticism. Here again, one more time, is Professor Philip Carey's words about Gnosticism. For Gnostics, the physical world, including earth and heaven, planets and stars, is an evil prison for our spirits which come from outside this world beyond space and time. Okay, then you have David Wilcock, who I just cited. He said, prison for your mind. David Icke, again, in the last part, I showed you his words talking about imprisonment, about the Matrix. Same thing with Jordan Maxwell, Matrix of Power. Deanne Hampton, the prison of your controlled mind, that New Age blog website, Prison Planet, okay, and look at the name of Jones's other website, Prison Planet. And you have one of Alex Jones's films, it's called Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. Again, there's that idea of, or that message of the fact that we're enslaved. And another one of his films is called Matrix of Evil. And if you search YouTube, you can see how many videos on the Matrix that his channel puts out, and you can find even more on his website. Search his website and you will get pages and pages of articles and videos on the Matrix. Some even saying how experts are saying that our reality is a computer program. I mean, that's straight out of the movie The Matrix. And speaking of that movie, here's a picture he made. If you remember the clip from the movie The Matrix, he's recreating the scene where Morpheus tells Neo about the Matrix. And Alex Jones is literally taking on that role of Morpheus, talking to you, the potential Neo, trying to get you to you know, go down the rabbit hole and see how far this thing goes. See how much you're, under control you are. See how enslaved you are. And then realize what you can do. Realize the powers that you have. And that is exactly what Alex Jones and all the conspiracy theorists are trying to be. They're trying to be Morpheus, telling you that you are a slave in the Matrix so that you will have a Gnostic New Age awakening, fight back, reclaim your rights and your power, and become part of the free, democratic New Age utopia, the New Atlantis, the real New World Order.
All of us together, of every race, color, and creed, as one humanity.
So I'm begging all of you, realize that you are the resistance, you have the power, and people are never waking up like they are today. But don't take that for granted. Now people are ready to hear the truth. Tell them about Infowars.com, about PrisonPlanet.com.
And so starting in the next part, I'll be unpacking Alex Jones's New Age beliefs. It's much more obvious with people like David Icke and David Wilcock and Jordan Maxwell, who are much more blatant about their allegiance to the New Age and Theosophy. But Alex Jones is much more cryptic and subtle, and I think it's important that you understand Jones's allegiance to New Age Gnostic doctrine, because he's arguably the biggest conspiracy theorist out there right now, but only a few people have picked up on his New Age messages, and so I'll be unpacking that and going into greater detail in the next part.
Whatever they do to other people comes back on them. That's karma.
You know, I have to probably say that I have major Masonic roots.
Okay, this is part 6 of What's Really Coming, a counterfeit New World Order and a real great deception. We left off at the end of part 5 with a hint at Alex Jones's New Age Gnostic beliefs and how he also, along with the other major conspiracy theorists like Jordan Maxwell, David Icke, David Wilcock, and Alan Watt, perpetuate the idea of humanity's enslavement or imprisonment at the hands of dark entities called archons, or some variation thereof, an idea which comes from Gnosticism. And we'll get more into Alex Jones in the next couple parts, but I want to say a few things, some review and some new thoughts, just so we are clear moving forward. And if this is the first video you've watched in this series, please go back and watch parts 1 through 5. Don't begin here. They're numbered for a reason. It won't make sense. So go back and watch from the beginning. As I've been saying, all conspiracy theory is rooted in Gnosticism, which is why the overwhelming majority, if not all, conspiracy theorists tend toward Gnostic and New Age beliefs. And just to recap, because you have to understand Gnosticism in order to understand what's happening. Gnosticism, like I said, teaches that humanity is enslaved by dark entities called archons, and it teaches that Jehovah, the God of the Bible, is the lead archon. He's the prime oppressor of humanity, the one behind everything. He tried to imprison us in the Garden of Eden and keep us in a mere animal-like, robotic state. And the serpent of Genesis, Satan, is the good guy who tried to help us and awaken us out of our slumber that Jehovah tried to keep us in. It is Satan, as Madame Blavatsky and Aleister Crowley taught, who gave us consciousness, who gave us spiritual freedom. Now, New Age mystery school type beliefs have been around since the beginning, but Gnosticism specifically, remember like I said in an earlier video, Gnosticism is a flavor of New Age ice cream. Gnosticism first emerged right after the early Christian church first got going. Now that should sound a little suspicious to people. A belief system that completely flips the Bible upside down first came onto the scene almost immediately after Jesus came, ascended into heaven, and the New Testament was written. Right after that, a completely inverted version appears. Right after the New Testament was written, the Gnostic Gospels emerged. And in the Gnostic Gospels, it tries to paint Jesus as being some sort of, Buddhist type New Age guru. Okay, this is spiritual warfare. Now, New Agers will claim that the Gnostic Gospels are the true accounts, but of course that's what they'll say. They are committed to their satanic Gnostic worldview, so of course they're going to say that the Gnostic Gospels are the true ones. That shouldn't really be a surprise to anybody. But the vast majority of scholars date the canonical Gospels of the Bible, that is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They were written well before the Gnostic Gospels were, but it's not really up for debate among people who aren't deceived or delusional. The biblical Gospels and the entire rest of the New Testament was written before the Gnostic texts, and it's pretty obvious why that is. Because in the 1st century, and most scholars date the Gnostic text to the 2nd century AD at the earliest, that is the year 100 and after, and all the biblical New Testament texts were written somewhere between 50 and 90 AD. And this is when the original eyewitnesses to Christ and the original apostles, some of them at least, were still alive. If I'm not mistaken, the final eyewitness to die was the Apostle John, who wrote the book of John and Revelation, and some say he lived well after the year 100. And like I said, it's pretty obvious why the satanic Gnostic texts weren't written until after the year 100. Because before that time, the original eyewitnesses and original apostles to Jesus Christ were still alive and could discredit the Gnostic texts. The original eyewitnesses and apostles had authority. And Satan is smart. If he had started spreading Gnosticism too early when Peter and Paul and John were still alive, those texts would have easily been discredited. Peter would have said, that's not what Jesus said. I walked with him. He didn't say those things. He didn't say we're all gods. And Paul, who had a direct encounter with Christ on the road to Damascus, would have easily been able to tell what were and weren't authentic texts that accurately represented Jesus and his teachings. Okay, same with John. So like I said, Satan's smart. He waited until all those people were dead. The timing is just too coincidental. The Gnostic texts all dated 2nd century and later, after everyone had, all the original eyewitnesses were dead. Those Gnostic texts started emerging immediately after all the original eyewitnesses and apostles had died, because they are part of satanic warfare, satanic spiritual warfare against the truth. And what I'm convinced happened was, Satan simply said, okay, Jesus is long gone from the earth. All the eyewitnesses are dead. Let's start spreading the idea that I was the good guy in the garden and that God was the bad guy who created this material world as a prison for people. And let's start spreading this idea that the whole world is under the enslavement of these evil beings. And let's just say that it's God and his angels who are behind it all. It's really that simple, I think. And all Satan did was switch the roles. And then Satan no doubt said to his angels, let's actually start building up this evil prison planet. Let's build up the bloodlines, put them in power. Let's build up this matrix, build up this evil world government. And then when the time comes, we'll blame it all on God or Christianity or whatever. We'll blame it on God, on the Bible, on the biblical worldview, on Jews and Christians. And trust me, there's a growing number of New Age people who claim that it is a biblical worldview that is behind the evil prison planet.
The people need to get this book called Disclosure that have all these government documents that we have acquired and the testimony of all these military and intelligence witnesses, because they describe clearly what is really going on behind the scenes and why the media is deceived and why the public is deceived on this issue. And one of the deceptions is to try to present this idea that there's some kind of hostile threat from outer space, because they're trying to lay the foundation for future war in space. And this is what we have to resist. We have to resist this siren song of greed coming from the military-industrial complex and the sort of orthodox eschatologists, the people who would like to figure out how to precipitate an end of the world scenario, like these books Left Behind and all this sort of fundamentalism. Those are the guys running this program.
Yeah.
These classified programs are filled with really kooky people from the lunatic fringe of the religious extremists. And so people have to understand that this is the opposite of where our civilization is really headed, and these are the dying gasps of a dying world order.
And this evil prison planet is what I term the counterfeit New World Order. Satan throughout history has slowly but surely built up this evil thing that conspiracy theorists call the Matrix, the Control Grid, the New World Order, which is the counterfeit one. He has worked via various secret societies throughout history, the Bloodlines, the Bilderbergs, the Illuminati, and all the rest of them. Satan has built this thing up, this counterfeit New World Order, this scary, evil control matrix. But that is not the end game. And that's where I think Christians who are into studying the New World Order are, I believe, being deceived and misguided. The 1984-style global surveillance, police state, oppressive, tyrannical New World Order is not Satan's endgame. If it was, he's really, really bad about it getting out. Okay? It's been leaked everywhere. Satan wants to reveal this to the world. He's the one who's working through these New Agers to reveal it to everybody. Through people like David Icke, Jordan Maxwell, David Wilcock, Alex Jones, Clyde Lewis, Russell Brand, all the rest of them. Satan is revealing to the world this evil control matrix. And then he's going to use that as a means of getting everybody to embrace the new age of peace and love. Satan's real endgame is the global initiation of mankind into the new age, and the way he's going to do that, like I've said, is to scare humanity to a point where they finally realize the nature of their enslavement. They become angry at this new world order, they fight back, and I think that's what's going to be the cause of a lot of chaos that will lead up to the tribulation. Then the new world order will be defeated, humanity reclaims its power, feels empowered, everybody feels united with one another because humanity as a whole has risen up against this evil new world order. And now everybody has been initiated into the new age. And that's why I said in an earlier video how in the new age they teach how fear is a catalyst toward transformation. And I'm going to come back to this over and over again. Fear, new world order being revealed to everybody, creates intense fear in mankind, and then they fight back and become transformed and initiated into the new age. They transcend to a God consciousness. Everybody's transformed, metamorphosed into new humans, Neo. Okay, the new human, blossoming butterflies, they become that through fear. Now listen to this New Age woman talk about this very idea of transformation through fear and the metaphor of the butterfly.
I wanted to talk a little about transformation. You can also think of a caterpillar. What is a caterpillar? It's a butterfly in the making, right? A caterpillar is born, and one day it starts to feel a call for something greater and something bigger and something more, and it feels that as a sense of longing and loss and sadness, right? Think about yourself when you desire something bigger and greater. For some reason, it's accompanied with a sense of loss or sadness or worry. You start to think about your day-to-day life and think, you have these bad feelings, but you're actually dreaming of something bigger. Why aren't we excited about that? Why aren't we staying present with that feeling? So back to the caterpillar, it starts dreaming of being a butterfly. It's dreaming of something bigger. And it feels probably the urge of putting itself into that cocoon to create this chrysalis so that it can transform into a butterfly. And who knows? I mean, we really can't ask a caterpillar, but probably it feels scared. Probably it feels terror at the thought, but still there's this evolutionary drive calling it to hang itself upside down from a branch and start to wrap itself in a leaf or two and start to form into a cocoon. And perhaps the last moment before it goes to sleep for its transformation is the fear of it dying. Maybe it clings in a panic to all the leaves and all the stories of what was, and it thinks, I've made a terrible mistake. Something is totally wrong. And I'm about to be killed. It doesn't know. It doesn't know, and it doesn't know how to welcome the moment with, fear being present as a possibility of huge, great transformation. And what happens on the other side? The butterfly emerges.
The development of our species to this point is only the larval stage. And we're now going into a phase where we're literally in a cocoon and about to metamorphosize into something else.
And that's how you are, and that's how your journey is. You feel these longings and this calling for something greater, and it's often accompanied with these sensations of fear or foreboding or concern. Know that there's something powerful in the fear that's speaking to you.
Okay, so before we were all caterpillars, but we will break out of our cocoons and become divine cosmic butterflies, or at least that's what everybody will believe. That's the end game, and that's the same idea that's being spread in conspiracy theory. A global tyrannical dictatorship is not the end game. It is merely a means of achieving the end game. If you believe that a global dictatorship is Satan's end game, you are being deceived. If that were the end game, then there wouldn't be so many satanic people revealing it to the public.
In the book, you refer to the destruction of the Twin Towers in New York, 9/11, as what some people say looked like a controlled explosion. And one might read that as you giving some credence to conspiracy theories.
You can read the book in whatever manner you would like to.
Do you believe that the Twin Towers were destroyed by forces of the American government or similar?
We have to remain open-minded to any kind of possibility. To be at the summit of our evolutionary possibility, we have to live beyond the dead model of our animal selves, of our urgent primal selves. The distinctions between you and I, we know that they are an illusion. We share the same DNA. There are invisible energies that are passing between us. These invisible energies have to be harnessed and accessed because it's the only truth that matters. We've got a duty to come together to get over our superficial differences. I think that there's an infinite creative force that generates all consciousness and all matter, and we are all connected. And if you align yourself with this infinite creative force, then you can be positive and you can be beautiful. I don't think it's a personal God. I don't believe in any particular doctrine or dogma, only that humanity is connected.
After a while, I started getting suspicious about that. I mean, you know, the first few times I heard Luciferian people talk about the truth about 9/11 and the medical conspiracy and the Illuminati and all that, I thought it was strange, but I passed it off as just being maybe a few exceptions to the rule. But after a while, there were so many of them, you know, I said, okay, something's going on here. They're all New Agers. These people talking about the New World Order. Why are New Agers so interested in the Illuminati and the truth about 9/11? I thought only Christians would be into that stuff because I thought that that revealed the true evil in this world and that it could only be explained by a biblical worldview. But that's not the case. In fact, all this stuff actually fits better into the New Age paradigm than the biblical one. And slowly I started to realize there were two New World Orders. The real one, the one that Alice Bailey talked about, and the counterfeit one that New Agers and conspiracy theorists focus on. And they are revealing this counterfeit New World Order right along with Luciferian messages of human unity, oneness, and higher consciousness, always. And the message is, you know, look, they're enslaving us, they're stealing our power, they're keeping us from realizing who we really are, from realizing that we're all one, they're stunting our creative energy, all that. And just to be clear, like I've said before, this counterfeit New World Order is real, just like a counterfeit $100 bill is physically real. It all has to be real for this plan to work, and that's the point. And it's the fact that it is very real that is giving all these New Age conspiracy theorists real power and validity, and it's giving power and validity to their message, to their prescription about how to deal with the problem. And that's why this deception is going to be so powerful. People in growing numbers are researching this stuff, realizing that it's real, and then they go to people like Jones and Ike for advice on what to do, and they tell people to unite, to resist it, to realize you're a powerful conscious being. You know, Ike tells people to let go of religion because it's one of the tools of control. Jones tells people all of us of every religion have to unite and stand up against these people. You know, people of every religion uniting, that's the satanic New Age. So in the next part, I'll focus you know, a lot on Alex Jones because he's a major piece of this puzzle. But before we dive into Alex Jones into greater detail, I want to make sure that anyone listening to this has the right mindset going forward, because you can't just learn the facts. You also have to be able to understand the right implications of those facts. For example, you know, I don't want anyone listening to this, you know, specifically a Christian, after I get done with Alex Jones to simply conclude, okay, I got to stay away from Alex Jones. That's not the point of this. If that was the point, I would have immediately begun in part 1 with Alex Jones, but I didn't mention him until part 5. The point of this video series is to reveal what I believe will be a masterful grand deception by Satan, which again has been to build up both the idea and the reality of a frightening, scary control matrix world government, which I call the counterfeit New World Order, that is being slowly revealed to mankind in order to ignite within mankind a Gnostic New Age awakening, which will then be his cue to come in the flesh as the next, you know, New Age Christ, the Antichrist, and establish the real deal New World Order of Lucius Trust, Alice Bailey, and the Theosophical Society, the peaceful brotherhood of man, worldwide harmony. Alex Jones is part of a bigger program, and I know it might sound crazy to say that the biggest conspiracy theorist in the world is actually part of a bigger conspiracy than anything he reveals on his show, but I'm convinced that this is what's going on. He is part of the larger Gnostic army that is building up anger among the human population against the Illuminati in order to ignite a New Age awakening and make humanity realize that they're God, which I believe is the lie specifically referred to in 2 Thessalonians, which I cited back in the beginning of part 1. 2 Thessalonians 2:11 through 12 says, quote, "For this reason God sends them a powerful delusion so that they believe the lie, and so that all will be condemned who have not believed the truth, but have delighted in wickedness." Too many people just think of overtly evil acts like murder, rape, and torture when they think of wickedness. You have to understand wickedness from a biblical worldview. You have to try and see how God sees it. And sure, murder, rape, and torture are wicked acts, but that's not all that wickedness encompasses. If you believe you are God, you are delighting in wickedness. For a created finite creature to think that it's part of the all-creative force is wicked. To deny that you are in sin and to think you don't need Jesus Christ's sacrifice on the cross is wicked. So when the whole world becomes initiated into the New Age, when Christianity is finally thrown out, when the Bible's thrown out, when everybody loves everybody else and is living in peace, it's going to be the most wicked time on this planet. Alright, this is part 7 of the What's Really Coming series. We're going to focus more specifically on Alex Jones now and start taking a look at some of the New Age ideas that he promotes in his broadcasts. And he typically does it very subtly. If you aren't familiar with the New Age dialect, you'll likely not notice his New Age Gnostic propaganda message, especially because he so often tries to reassure his audience that he's a Christian.
I'm a Christian. But I like, the Christianity that actually read the Bible about Christ and all that. I totally love Christ. I love Jesus Christ. I don't love the interpretation of the churches growing up telling me I'm a devil, I'm going to hell, so they're up on some high horse.
His allegiance to the New Age usually flies under the radar, but if you're familiar with the New Age dialect and where the New Age comes from, it's difficult to avoid the serious implications of what he says. The New Age propaganda just screams at you.
And that secret was not a secret at all, and it made this country special despite all our evils. The will and the dream to build that new Atlantis was special and was pure.
So first and probably most importantly is Alex Jones's open allegiance to what are known as the mystery schools. Now, like I've alluded to earlier, the mystery schools are the ancient foundation for all occultism, including the New Age and Freemasonry. And the New Age authorities will tell you it's all connected with the Brotherhood of Ascended Masters, the spiritual hierarchy, which are clearly just Satan and his angels masquerading as spiritual ministers of light and goodness. Theosophist Grace Noach, she was head of the Theosophical Society at one point. She has a book called The Mystery Schools. She goes into great detail in that book about how the mystery schools were founded by the Ascended Masters, or what she calls the Sons of Mind. Another example is Kayla Ambrose, psychic and author of many New Age books. She explains what the mystery schools are in her book called 9 Life-Altering Lessons, Secrets of the Mystery Schools Unveiled. She says, "I'm not here to teach you anything, rather I'm here to help you remember what you already know at a soul level." By the way, they say that over and over again, that we already know it all, that we just have to remember, to recall, to remember who we are, etc. That's why they do hypnotic regression therapy, to try and remember supposedly past lives. She says, "I teach at the school of Stella Maris what are called esoteric teachings, which are also referred to as wisdom teachings, enlightenment teachings, and mystery school teachings." So this New Age authority is telling you flat out that her entire life philosophy comes from the mystery schools. She goes on to write, "These teachings have been shared orally from teacher to student through the ages of humanity. Some of the most recognized are the teachings from ancient Egypt, Greece, and Celtic Europe, and others are from the ancient wisdom of Sumeria and India." And I think it's interesting to note that she doesn't mention Israel. She's telling you the mystery schools are the foundation of all pagan wisdom, and the wisdom taught to the Israelites, that is, from God, the one true God, is not honored by them. It's not honored as esoteric mystery school knowledge. Now, the Jews did pick up this stuff later on with the Kabbalah, but Israel is not considered one of the original homes of the mystery schools. She goes on, these esoteric teachings are much older than this earth, and the wisdom they offer is of the most benefit when one discovers, or rather uncovers, what is unseen rather than seen. These teachings cannot be completely experienced or mastered by reading a book or taking a workshop. They are designed to serve as guides along your journey of self-exploration and path to enlightenment. And then she goes on throughout the book to tell you how to become initiated into these teachings. And like I said, this is where Freemasons get all their stuff, all their imagery, initiation, enlightenment, progression to higher levels, and then finally ascension to godhood. It all comes from the original pagan mystery schools. She also has a website, and she says some interesting things on there about the mystery schools. She says, quote, "The goal of a mystery school is to present the core concepts of universal wisdom. The teacher can be viewed as a gardener, planting seeds of knowledge in the mind of the burgeoning student. The student then contemplates and cultivates these thoughts so that the seeds grow and yield fruit. This is referred to as turning knowledge into wisdom, moving from information gathering into action by applying what has been learned into daily life. As the student begins the process of knowing, gnosis, there it is, gnosis, Gnosticism, and awakening, each step leads further inward, gaining momentum along the way, leading into a rebirth of the soul, which alters the person on all levels. This experience is symbolized by the butterfly. There it is again, the butterfly, like I showed you in the last part. It begins life in one form as a caterpillar and then engages in a transformative process, going within a cocoon and emerging as a beautiful butterfly. So again, there's that metaphor of the butterfly and transformation. I said this was a big thing in the New Age, and it's very typically something they bring up over and over again. And then she goes on to explain how the ultimate goal of studying in the mystery schools is the expansion of consciousness. And then she references the all-seeing eye of the sun god, who is ultimately Lucifer. She says when the higher consciousness is activated, the all-seeing eye of the universe becomes aware of our awakened presence and engages with us. During this awakening, a series of alchemical changes occur, opening the physical and auric body to receive an energetic transformation and informational download. An overflowing ocean of energy is now directed around the person, enhancing the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. This leads to a profound awakening for the student that is timeless and as relevant and life-altering today as it was in the sacred temples of Egypt and Greece, for in that moment of awareness and enlightenment, everything changes on every level.
If you don't know much about me, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm an author. I've written 6 books, another one coming out next year. I'm a talk show host, a psychic and a medium, and I'm a mystery school teacher, what's called the Ancient Wisdom Teachings. And that's my love, my passion, and what I really love to teach, which is really about self-introspection, going deep spiritually, and answering those age-old questions, who am I and why am I here? And I came back in this lifetime remembering these things. Really, really young. I was seeing auras, I was having prophetic dreams, I was picking up things about people I didn't know that wasn't normal. So I remembered past lives. I remembered things I'd done before. I remembered being with my family before, things that happened, and I remembered teaching in the mystery schools. So it's funny, I had very strict ideas. I went to my mother and I said, when I'm 12, I want to learn astrology. And when I'm 13, I want to learn tarot. It's like I almost had this vision in my mind of how I would study and learn. And I was lucky to find 3 different mystery school teachers. And when I started studying those ancient wisdom teachings, it just brought everything back to me. I remembered the rest of what I was doing in past lives, how I used to teach these teachings in the mystery schools. Everything came flooding back, and I went from being, you know, a basic psychic to boom, opening up, to astral traveling, to going to the Akashic records, to understanding deeper what that means when I see the aura or get psychic visions about people. And then after 35, we start moving every 7-year cycle. So the ancient mystery schools taught this, that whatever you want to think about or manifest or focus on, if you put that energy in your field in one of these 7-year cycles, you can change the whole cellular energy in your body. Whether you want to manifest better health or a different perception of yourself or seeing yourself, you know, in a new way, the energy that you focus on gets implanted all the way down into the cellular level, so you can cancel out old ways of thinking or old modes of consciousness and replace it with new thoughts. And when you do that, it's very powerful, because then you are becoming a whole beacon of energy and light of whatever it is you want to manifest. That's what I teach in the mystery schools, how to do that and how to change your energy so that you become what you wish to create and manifest.
All right, so now that you have a good foundation for understanding what the mystery schools are and how important they are in the New Age, let's move on to Alex Jones and his allegiance to the mystery schools. Now, it's important to understand that Alex Jones is not as openly mystical or New Agey as people like Kayla Ambrose are. Alex Jones typically paints himself as a more conservative American patriot, not this big spiritual guy, and so he waters it down and tries to make the whole idea of the mystery schools acceptable to people, Christians especially, and he strips out a lot of the explicitly occult and mystical stuff. But if you listen carefully and know what to look for, there are still just enough clues in his language that point to his quite obvious Gnostic allegiance, and that make it clear that he's talking about the very same thing that New Agers like Kayla Ambrose are. He's just talking about it in a more watered down way. So here's the first clip talking about his Masonic mystery school allegiance. A caller brings up his concern about finding out that Alex Jones is a Freemason, and Jones responds.
Listen, here's what happened yesterday. So I'm listening to your program. It's the middle of the day. I had a day off. I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a nap. Like anything, I thought, I just started Googling your name, because I enjoy your show, and I'm very intrigued with what you do, and I thought, well, I'll just get a little bit more information, and boom, out of nowhere, I read this article that says that you're a Freemason. Now, let me first of all say that I haven't met a Freemason that I haven't liked, but for years, I've had a concern.
I have to probably say that I have major Masonic roots. I have never been part of a Masonic lodge. I've never taken Masonic oaths or rituals. A lot of my family, because Texas was pretty much Masonic through and through, was Masonic, high-level Masonic. So it's the old-time religion. And all it is a university study of religions, of philosophy, and of building, and of mathematics, and of agrarian systems, because they didn't just bring anybody in to teach them the knowledge of warfare, the knowledge of science, the knowledge of culture. Universities were called mystery schools going back to Egypt, basically. And so what you see as Masons today is just those schools going on, and there have been hundreds of different variants and groups and Rosicrucian orders within the Masons, and the Illuminati, founded in Germany, was a counter-Illuminati to the real Illuminati that was just called itself the Enlightenment, and then in Latin Illuminati, but it didn't call itself. Sir Francis Bacon, all of that, hundreds of years before the Jesuit priest Adam Weishaupt. The modern Illuminati was a Catholic spinoff in an attempt to take over the Illuminati and the Rosicrucians. And yes, undoubtedly, my family on both sides on the Mayflower, hardcore Protestants, you could say Rosicrucians. This country was founded by real Rosicrucians, not the Rosicrucians you see out there today. And so, undoubtedly, if you want to say it, I would say I come out of a classical Enlightenment family of what you would call real Illuminati, real Enlightenment. And I'll just say it here, and everybody asks me who I am, I'll tell you. There's no secret society. There's no secret messages. There's no secret handshakes. There's freedom. There's Jesus Christ. There's free market. There's family. There's strength. There's honor. There's the will to fight tyrants. That's what there is. The will to fight evil. The will to build a new civilization built on honor, built on trust, built on building up a system for all of humanity. So it's easy for lesser men to write an article claiming I'm in some secret society and a Mason. I'm in the society of humanity. There are no secrets.
Okay, so this short clip is just loaded with little bombshells, and there is a lot to unpack here. Jones admits his Masonic Rosicrucian family roots. He talks about Enlightenment, which is a major New Age Luciferian theme, and he talks about Freemasonry's true roots in the ancient mystery schools. He says real Freemasonry is really just a modern-day continuation of the secret mystery schools of the pagans, like the Egyptians. And what's so troubling is that he's saying that as if that's what makes Freemasonry at root good. The fact that it just stems from the mystery schools of the pagans. It's important to understand that that's his response to criticism of Freemasonry. That's not his criticism of Freemasonry, but his response to criticism of Freemasonry. Whereas with Bill Cooper, it was the complete opposite. The fact that Freemasonry stemmed from the mystery schools of the pagans was one of his major criticisms of it. In his Mystery Babylon series, he talked about how Masonry's roots in the mystery schools of the Egyptians and the Babylonians is what makes Freemasonry so sinister. The fact that it didn't just begin in the 1700s, but really has roots in the ancient pagan world. But with Alex Jones, that's what makes it good. Bill Cooper devoted a lot of his broadcast time to quoting Masonic authors, saying how Freemasonry, or admitting how Freemasonry stemmed from the ancient mystery tradition, and Cooper was exposing that as being the real demonic roots of Freemasonry. But with Alex Jones, that's what makes it good. In Alex Jones's mind, Freemasonry did not become evil until the late 18th century with Adam Weishaupt and the Illuminati, and then they took it over and turned Freemasonry into an organization of control. But before that, it was a good and wholesome organization that spread light and enlightenment, and its, symbols and rituals dating back thousands of years were good. And again, Cooper is dead and Jones is alive and well. Go figure. That's no coincidence. And that brings me to my next point, where Jones talks about the real Illuminati versus the false Illuminati, the real Rosicrucians versus the false Rosicrucians, real Freemasonry versus false Freemasonry. Now, I'm not exaggerating when I say that this might be the single most important point to understand in this entire video series, because if you understand this, then you can more easily understand everything else that's going on. Jones's explanation for what the mystery schools are is all tied in with his belief in the idea of this battle between true Freemasonry and false Freemasonry. And this is not just Alex Jones, this is all across the board with New Agers and conspiracy theorists, and it's all part of the larger impending New Age paradigm that is slowly gaining influence. And this notion of the true versus the false does not just apply to Freemasonry, it applies to all branches of the occult and the mystery school tradition. And the idea of true Freemasonry versus false Freemasonry, or the true Illuminati versus the false Illuminati, is rooted ultimately in this notion of white magic versus black magic that is very foundational to the New Age paradigm. And this is the important point to understand, the notion of white magic versus black magic. You have to understand this because this is actually what is being used with the whole idea of the counterfeit or false New World Order being overthrown by the true New World Order. The notion of peace, love, and light overthrowing evil, corruption, enslavement. White magic versus black magic. White magic overthrowing and defeating black magic. It's really just like the light side of the Force versus the dark side of the Force in Star Wars. And I won't spend much time on this right now, but I think Luke Skywalker, I think that's a reference to the sun. Luke Skywalker, walking across the sky, him defeating the evil, dark side of the Force, Horus versus Set in the Egyptian myth. And of course, Lucifer is the sun. Lucifer coming as the Antichrist, coming to establish a world of peace, defeating the evil control matrix. Anyway, this is a foundational idea that is going to be used when the time comes for the black magic, evil, false New World Order to rear its ugly head, and then have the white magic, true New World Order of Aquarian love and light rise up and defeat it. This whole theory of mine about there being two new world orders, one counterfeit and one real, is not just something I made up one day. I understand how the New Age views the world, how it views the universe, and how it views reality. It perceives this age-old battle between white magic and black magic, and all I'm doing is merely applying their own paradigm to make sense of how Satan is going to bring about the new world order. And Satan is brilliantly going to be applying this idea of white magic versus black magic to usher in the reign of the Antichrist and the real New World Order. Black magic representing the counterfeit New World Order, run by the dark shadow groups of men in dark suits conspiring behind closed doors, and white magic representing the real New World Order of the New Age. In other words, Satan is going to be using the New Age paradigm in order to usher in the New Age. But the deception is that everyone will think that this is all happening naturally, or through the natural order or flow of the universe, or through natural law. But in reality, it's actually Satan and his angels doing it artificially. And so just to wrap up here, Jones's response to this caller who was concerned about his possible ties to Freemasonry is essentially, I'm not officially a Freemason, but so what if I am? Freemasonry itself is not evil. It goes back to the ancient mystery schools of the pagans. Freemasonry has only, as of the past few hundred years, been hijacked by the elites and corrupted and turned into a tool of control for greedy and selfish ends by the globalists. I stand for true Freemasonry, not the false Freemasonry of the Bushes, the Rockefellers, and the Rothschilds. Those people are the black magicians, the black magic Freemasons, is essentially what he's saying. Adam Weishaupt, founder of the Illuminati, he was a black magician because he was selfish and sought power and control. But Jones, on the other hand, he's a white magician. He stands for true white magic Freemasonry, the light side of the force, and is against the corrupted black magic Freemasonry that has helped to build up the control matrix and greedily control the planet. And if this caller or anyone else watching or listening buys what Jones says, what has essentially happened is that they have been recruited onto Team White Magic that is going to defeat Team Black Magic in this cosmic battle between the dark and the light that I believe is going to occur very soon. And I'm not talking about God defeating evil during the apocalypse. I'm talking about this phony dark versus light battle that's going to come right before that. That will help fool people into buying into the New Age. What all of these New Agers and conspiracy theorists are doing is slowly but surely recruiting people onto Team White Magic to defeat the Black Magician Illuminati and the globalist control agenda. And of course, this all ties in with the Ascended Masters, who Alice Bailey says make up the Great White Brotherhood, who will help humanity defeat the evil dark archons, which, as I've said in previous parts, according to them, the archons are led by Jehovah, the God of the Bible. This is very serious spiritual warfare we're talking about here.